I'd ever seen before. Sea green eyes and long blonde hair, cool smooth smile and didn't have a care. I don't know why, but you walked my way. I was scared to death, but I was ready to play. Love at first sight sets the spirit free. I felt the dark clouds part, I heard the angels sing. My heart caught fire and my soul can fly. That's when I knew I had to make her mine.
Hello, everybody. How you doing? My name is Mickey, and this is Mickey in the Middle, the quintessential show for Middle Americans, where all Middle Americans are welcome. Doesn't matter where you've been or where you're going. Just matters that you're here right now. Now, welcome to the show. This is going to be a little bit of a rant. I didn't want it to be a rant. I shouldn't have to rant, but I need everybody just to knock it off. I feel like a dad. I feel like the dad, and I got a bunch of kids in the back seat, and they're saying stuff and they're doing stuff and they're acting all weird and they're at each other's throats. And I don't want to do this, but I'm going to have to do this. So I'm going to tell you guys all right now, just knock it off. This is getting ridiculous. No, what am I talking about? Well, before I get to that, we're going to kick off the show the way that we normally do. We're going to go ahead and talk about the Constitution of the United States of America. Just really briefly, we got to get to the show. This right here is the Constitution of the United States. Guarantees our rights as Americans. The population, you are sharing the world with 8,274,003,015 people right now. India's got a 1.4 billion. China's got 1.4 billion. India is bigger than China. United States got 348 million people in it. That number right there is important. That's why I'm going to be talking about it here. 348 million. We got to remember that. And then we always talk about the debt because I think it's absolutely ridiculous. There's $38 trillion in debt. So here we go. All right. What am I talking about? Let me see if can I get the camera back on me? I can get the camera back on me. All right. So what are we talking about today? This is the rant we all need to reset. We need to reset what's going on in our country. Let me go back a few days. I had a conversation with somebody, and normally I'm on the phone with this person for about 10 minutes whenever we're talking about the world and wherever I'm checking in with them and they're checking in with me. And we just go talk about small talk and just make sure that we're there for each other. This person told me that they had concerns that the world was on fire and that it's not good out there. And they were distraught. And I said, all right, so why are you distraught? And they're like, hey, all of this stuff with ICE, all of this stuff with Trump, all of this stuff with what's going on in the world. And I said, whoa. We got to put this in perspective. We have to have a little bit of perspective about what is going on in the nation and what's going on with ICE and what's going on with Trump and the deportations and people getting shot and the whole 9 yards. And that conversation ended up lasting an hour and 27 minutes, I think, when I looked at my phone. I was like, holy smokes, we were on the phone for a really, really, really long time. No, we didn't just all talk about that. We talked about a bunch of other things. But then I posted something on social media. And what I posted was about a hearing that took place in the halls of Congress. And when I posted that, I was posting it for information. I thought it was information that people needed. And I think that people needed to see the information because about Americans being detained by ICE. Because a whole bunch of folks on one side of the aisle and are supporters of one side are saying, oh, Americans are not being detained. It's not happening. Well, yeah, it is happening, right? So the question that I had was, is there any information that's out there? And I asked the person that I was talking to send me information. They sent me information. So I posted the information to let everybody know what their fellow citizens are saying. So this is what I posted right here by Mickey Spillane. This right here is me. This needs to be seen by everyone that cares about our great nation. There are some of your fellow citizens speaking in Congress about being aggressively detained by ICE and other federal authorities. There's an accompanying report called Examining the Trump Administration's Extrajudicial Immigration Detentions of U.S. Citizens, and I included that in a link. It's right there. I included it because this report was accompanying these hearings, and it's the first thing that they talked about in these hearings. Why is that important? Important for two things. Number one, this happened in Congress. It happened in Congress. And they published a report, and these are your fellow citizens that have made reports about being detained by ICE and being threatened by federal authorities for compliance or for non-compliance with the federal authorities. Now, in these hearings, they were held by the Democratic Party. There were no Republicans and no rebuttal witnesses to say anything on the other side. So I also said that in what I said on Facebook. Said it right here. Said, these people, you need to hear these people because they're your fellow citizens. They were detained, and they are saying that the conduct of ICE and other federal officers were out of line, illegal, or violated their constitutionally protected rights. I'm not judging any story, defending either side, or pretending that I know what happened or any of these encounters that these people are talking about. I'm sharing this because I want all of my friends to be well informed and hear it straight from your fellow citizens about what happened to them rather than listen to the biased news agencies or some social media talking head. I'll put the link to the report in the comments section. I thought that was pretty plain and simple. I thought that was unbelievably plain and simple. Hey, look here. The Democrats held a hearing. They were about your fellow citizens being detained by ICE. Some of them up to 3, 4, 5 days. I misread a couple of the things, but I read the entire report and I watched the entire hearing. Now, I don't know whether you watched the entire hearing, and I don't know whether you read the entire report, but here's what the deal is. They had hearings and they published a report, and from all I can see is those were credible instances where people were detained by ICE, and they were saying that the laws was violated, that ICE didn't listen to them, that they were American citizens, that they were detained, and that their constitutionally protected rights were being violated. You need to hear that. I don't care what side of the aisle you are on. If you're going to be talking about Trump and the ICE, whatever the heck ICE is, right? So the Immigration Custom Enforcement Agency, and you're going to be talking about them in any manner, you need to understand the full story. That's what I put out. I put out a full story. Hey, look here. The full story is that they had hearings and they put out a report. The rest of the story is that no Republicans were present in the hearing and ICE didn't have a chance to rebut what the witnesses said. That's the story. I didn't go beyond that. I didn't say that anybody was wrong. I didn't make any accusations. I didn't say whether I was taking a side or not because I'm not taking a side. This is information that everybody needs to hear and everybody needs to understand because it's causing an emotional reaction when one side only hears one side of the story or the other side only hears part of the story too. You need to be well informed about everything and you need to understand the context in which it is given. When the news comes up, they are biased. Why do I know that they're biased? Because a few months ago, I stopped watching the news. I used to watch a little bit of Fox and I used to watch a little bit of CNN. And whenever they would report the news, they would report the news. But before they got to the next thing of news, they would have talking heads come on and everybody would have to have an opinion about what happened in a story. I don't want to hear anybody's opinion. Just give me the news. What happened? What were the circumstances? And let me make up my own mind. But the news is biased. I don't care whether you're talking about Fox News, NBC, MSNBC, whoever the hell else is out there. They're biased and they have slant and they bring on pro and con, mostly pro to their site. And then they have one person sitting in the corner and they go, well, I don't agree with that. So understand that number one, the news that you're getting from the news networks are all biased, period. I don't care what side you're on. Number two, when you go to social media and you try to get information, those people are all trying to get clicks. Now, I don't promote this show. I don't come up with little clips. I don't do Instagram. I don't do, what is that, X or Twitter. I don't do Twitter. I post a couple of things on Facebook. I'm usually center right. And I try to put everything in context. But the simple fact is I'm not here for clicks. So that when I put something like this and I go, hey, look here, your fellow citizens are being detained, and the Democrats put out a report that have all of their stories in it. But I'm not going to pick a side because I'm not picking sides on here. This is just information. You can take that for face value. And I had a couple of people go, if you're going to be a Nazi and you're going to support ICE, what do I mean if I'm supporting? I'm not supporting this. I put out a report that criticized ICE that said, hey, they're illegally detaining your fellow citizens. The report says that there were 170 American citizens detained, and there were 22 summaries in the report. Now, you might not want to hear this, but those are your fellow citizens, and the information was compiled in a congressional hearing, and it was also put in a document called what is it called? I don't know what the hearing is. Oh, there it is. Hold on just a second. Let's go back to this. This is the report. December 9th, 2025, United States Senate Permanent Subcommittee on Investigations, Unchecked Authority, examining the Trump administration's extrajudicial, I don't know what extrajudicial means, but maybe that should have been two words, immigration detentions of U.S. citizens. Ranking member Richard Blumenthal, minority staff report. That means that this was made by the minority in the House of Representatives, and that means that it's a minority report put out by the Democrats. These are the 22 stories that are in this report. You got to read them. If you don't read them, what good is it for me to put this information out there if you're not going to read them? Right? So if you're on the right and if you're a conservative and you're supporting ICE, it doesn't do you any good to not read what your fellow citizens are saying. This is why I'm ranting. This is why I'm ranting, because I had a couple of people come in the comment section. You can go to my Facebook page and you can read it. And they were going, you're supporting ICE. You're not taking a side. No, I'm not taking a side. If I'm going to be wrapped up in a cocoon of my own making, here's the thing. I'm going to go back and I'm going to explain a couple of things to everybody. My personal opinion is I believe that a lot of cops do a lot of good things, but I also believe that cops don't always get it right. I don't believe that ICE gets it right. Hell, I got arrested for standing in a hallway in a dorm room when I was a kid living in a dormitory at Little Rock Air Force Base, and I got arrested for standing in a hallway holding a beer. Cuffed me and stuffed me. It wasn't good. But at that time, I already knew that cops were bad because I had been arrested multiple times before on trumped up bullshit charges because they wanted information from me because I knew too many people and they thought that they could squeeze me for information about everybody else. So they would arrest me, they would take me in, they would see if I could violate some kind of whether I was going to cooperate, whether I was going to tell them, whether I was going to rat on my friends. I believed that I was going to tell the truth in all of those situations, but I also believe that I am protected and that I have the right to an attorney. So I saw cops arresting me. I said I needed an attorney. I'm not going to fill out any statement. I'm not going to talk to you without an attorney. Why? Because the Constitution of the United States and the UCMJ protects everybody that's been accused of something. I believe in the Constitution of the United States of America, but I also believe that cops don't have to be perfect. That is too high of a standard. Across the United States of America, there are 10,000 ICE agents that are all doing their thing. And we're focusing on a very, very small and select group of people that happen to be in Minnesota or wherever they're doing the news or wherever doing that stuff. And sometimes stuff goes sideways. And when stuff goes sideways, bad things happen to good people. Why? Because cops are not always going to be perfect. ICE is not always going to be perfect. I'm not defending ICE. I'm not convicting ICE. I'm just saying that these are the facts. I've seen it. I've been there. I've done that. So everybody that expects ICE to be perfect, it's not going to happen. Everybody that says that nobody should be detained is unrealistic. Although that's the goal, nobody that is an American citizen should be detained by ICE. There's 170 stories. They say that in the report, there's 170 stories that are verified of ICE detaining people. I have absolutely no doubt that that number is true. That number is probably higher. And those they didn't make the report. So yeah, for everybody that's saying that ICE is doing a perfect job, they're not doing a perfect job. Hell, 2 people been shot. That says, hey, something went sideways somewhere. But the simple fact is that when you start reading stuff and then you start going, the other side is the enemy, that's where I have a problem. I got a problem because when you go to Walmart and you go to a park or you go to the dentist office or you go to a fast food restaurant or a sit-down restaurant, guess what? I want you to look around and I want you to see what America is about. America is a great country. We have come leaps and bounds since our founding 250 years ago. And to say that we are a bad country or because there's a bad administration, there have been lots of bad administrations. Shit, we had a civil war at one time. You think that half the country agreed with the Civil War and half the country disagreed with the Civil War? No. There was some very, very stark differences in the political feelings of where everybody was about the Civil War. So much so that we had a war. I'm not saying that your feelings are not justified, but I would like for you to put your feelings in context. And I would like you to look at a larger picture about what's happening in the United States of America. The First Amendment still applies. The freedom of speech, freedom to assemble, freedom of the press. Where's my book? They're all in here, right? Constitution of the United States, First Amendment. Congress shall make no law respecting the establishment of a religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof or abridging the freedom of speech or the press or the right of the people to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. That's classic. Second Amendment, well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. 3, don't house soldiers in people's houses. 4, this is where it gets interesting. The people to be secure in their persons, house, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrant shall be issued upon except upon probable cause, supported by oath or affirmation, and particularly describing the place and the search of the person to be seized. This is a problem. So, for all of the people that are on the ICE side, people are having their Fourth Amendment constitutional right abridged. They are. Your fellow citizens went to Congress. 170 of them have been detained. We don't know the circumstances behind that, but 170 of them have been detained. 22 of them are in this report. That means that the Fourth Amendment of the Constitution is being violated, unless ICE had something that they had to say. But I read a lot of these things, and it doesn't sound like ICE had sufficient grounds to stand on. So we don't know what ICE is doing. We don't know the circumstances. And now we're out here all judging. We're all judging. And we're going, ICE is right. ICE is wrong. ICE is wrong. ICE is right. ICE is wrong. ICE is right. And we're getting to the point where we're calling each other Nazis. And you know that that's not true. You know it's not true. Somebody said, if you support ICE, you're supporting a Nazi. For everybody that's on the anti-ICE side, here's the problem that I see. This is my own opinion. We have a law that says that people that are in the country illegally cannot stay here. That's the law. If you don't like the law, go change the law. Because in 3 days, the House of Representatives can introduce a bill and say that they can abolish ICE and that all illegal aliens can stay. The second day, it goes to the Senate, or the Senate can actually do it on the same day. But on day one, if it's in the House, day two, it can go to the Senate. Day three, it can be signed by the President of the United States, and the law is now the law, and ICE will stop what they're doing. But trying to stop ICE while they're doing their duties is actually illegal in most situations. Everybody that's on the other side, there's still a First Amendment to the Constitution that says you have the right to assemble. It doesn't say where you can assemble. It doesn't say how many people you can have assemble, but you have the right to assemble, and you have the right to free speech, and you have the right to go wherever you want to go, because that's the way that we operate. So that means that you can follow somebody if you're not interfering with the law enforcement agency. So everybody that goes, hey, if you're following ICE, you're breaking the law. No, they're not breaking the law. It's First Amendment protections. And we're accusing people. We're accusing people on the other side of being anti-American or anti-patriotic. What happens if they think they're more patriotic than you? What if you can have two sides of the ICE issue and both people think that they're being patriotic? I'm not saying who's right, who's wrong. What I'm saying is we need to change the tone in what's happening, because we're tearing ourselves apart. I try to be neutral. I like police officers that I know, but I don't like getting stopped by cops, and I don't like it when cops get overzealous. I know that not every encounter with the police or ICE or any other law enforcement agency is going to be good. But the simple fact of the matter is that if we don't change the discussion and the way that we treat each other, even when somebody posts something that you disagree with, can you find some language that would be a little nicer? Don't be a dick. Don't get your undies in a twist. Don't think that they're your enemy. I'm certainly not anybody's enemy. I understand that ICE has a job to do. I understand that people have the right to protest. What the fuck is wrong with that? Nothing. But Mickey, they're going too far. Who's going too far? Is ICE going too far? Are the protesters going too far? Because that's the stance that everybody's taking. They're going too far. Come on. Come on. I see this, and all I see is people getting wound up. But every single morning when they wake up and they go out in the kitchen and they got their kids there and they take their kids to school and they kiss them on the forehead and they say, hey, have a great day. And then they go to work and they work peaceably all through the day and they have a little bit of lunch and they go somewhere and they have a nice lunch, or they bring their lunch and they sit with their coworkers and they talk with their coworkers about softball games and about ballets and about concerts, about what they're going to do this weekend, or going to the lake or going skiing. And then they go home and they have themselves a nice dinner and they watch a little TV, whatever's on TV. I don't even know what's on TV anymore. I don't watch TV. I don't turn on the TV. The last time I had TV on was for a football game, and I haven't watched football in, I don't know, a few weeks. But when you take it in that context and you don't get wrapped up in, oh my God, ICE. Yeah, there's a couple thousand ICE agents, maybe 500. I don't know how many ICE agents they have up there in Minneapolis or in Minnesota. I don't know. But when it's all concentrated on that, and then they make us pick sides, when they make us, oh, what side are you on? Why do I have to be on a side? Because there's three, I wrote it down. There's three sides to this. There's the anti side, which is everybody you're against. There's the pro side, which is everybody that you're standing with. And there's a bunch of others of us that are out there that are like, hey, look here, we understand that it's gray in the middle. If you don't understand that it's gray in the middle, that ICE has a job to do, that happened because Congress wrote laws. The administration has a job to execute those laws. They do. They do. Those are the facts. Congress has the laws. The executive is supposed to do it. And then the other side is that people have the right to protest, and people have the right to not be detained. And our fellow citizens are scared, and they're all up, and they're upset, and they have a reason to be upset because they see that this is justice gone awry. And they're saying, hey, look here, they're doing it wrong. Well, that's an opinion. I don't know what ICE is doing. I don't know what's happening in the ready rooms. I don't know when they get in their vehicles, how they're communicating, how they find people, how they don't find people. I don't know any of that. And neither does anybody else, because that's all information that's not released to the public. So we don't know what ICE is thinking. We don't know what the rationale is behind the way that they're going and finding people. But I do know that the immigration courts are working overtime. I do know that 30% of the people that have filed asylum claims in immigration courts have found that they have just asylum claims. That when people come over the border, they're given a ticket and a court date, and that 10% of the people don't show up to those dates, and that 30% of the people that do show up for the dates are found to have asylum claims that are valid, and 70% of the people are found to do not have a valid asylum claim. That means that the 70% of people that have had this adjudicated in a court have a deportation order in the United States. They didn't deport them right then. They released them back in the United States, but they still have a legal deportation order. So all of the people that are saying, you're not allowed to deport anybody, well, go change the law. All the people that are saying you don't have the right to protest or interfere, that is wrong as well. All I'm saying is, try to be nice. Damn. Try to empathize and understand that people have an opinion that's going to be different than yours. Don't get all high and mighty. Don't get high and mighty. And don't sink your emotional stability into this bullshit. It's all bullshit. It's all bullshit. ICE has been doing their thing since 2003 when they were formed after 9/11 and Homeland Security became a thing. That's when we got ICE. Go change the law. But don't get sunk into this so emotionally that you ruin your life when you can wake up tomorrow morning, go have breakfast, take your kid to school, go to work, have a nice lunch, have a nice afternoon, go to the park, go skiing, go to the lake, go do whatever the heck you want. I played pickleball today. But it's so wrong. They're wrong. Right. Let them be wrong. Don't get emotionally involved with shit that doesn't involve you. What happens if it happens to you? Well, if it happens to me, then I go to court. If somebody comes right now, if somebody knocked on my door and said, "Hey, look here, we're detaining you to deport you," you think I'm going to fight them? Think I'm going to get bullets out? Not happening. Not happening. I'll figure out when I get to court. I think that's all I got to say. I appreciate everybody's attention to this. Carolyn Greggs Dooley says, but root for the Seattle Seahawks on Super Bowl Sunday. There you go. Is it coming up? Is that this Sunday? Hey, look here. I got one more football game to watch. I can turn my TV back on. And I can watch this. So, hey, everybody. Thanks a lot. This right here has been Mickey in the Middle, the quintessential show for middle Americans. Don't get all wrapped up emotionally in stuff that is beyond your control. Go outside, go to Walmart, go talk to your neighbors, have a barbecue, go fishing, go hunting, go have a little bit of fun. Don't invest your time being so negative and so, yeah. As I said, if I got kids in my back seat, I tell them to knock that shit off. So that's it for the show tonight. Remember, Mickey in the Middle. Like, share, subscribe, whatever the heck else you're supposed to do for the algorithm. I greatly appreciate it if you're tuning in. You guys have a good one. I will talk to you later. Bye-bye.
It was love at first sight when she walked through that door. The most beautiful girl I'd ever seen before. Sea green eyes and long blonde hair. Cool, smooth smile and didn't have care. I don't know why, but she walked my way. I was scared to death, but I was ready to play. Love at first sight sets the spirit free. I felt the dark clouds part, I heard the angels sing. My heart caught fire and my soul can fly.